This is the Decibel and Docket podcast. Welcome to Decibel and Docket podcast. I'm your host, Dave Brooks. Mike Seville is not able to join us this week to record. It's just me, and I'm recording from my new studio, as you can see behind me. Not bad, huh? And I have a special episode this week dedicated to the recent Senate hearing on ticketing issues featuring superstar Kid Rock. And yesterday's hearings really touched on about every hot button issue there is in ticketing. And that's what kind of makes, I think, these hearings a little bit frustrating and confusing, is because they cover everything without any real context or explanation, right? You've got senators firing off questions they don't totally understand, right, to the panel. The answers they give kind of hide a lot of these guys' their true intentions, right? And it's really difficult to make any sense of these hearings sometimes because they cover so much ground. They're kind of so confusing. You've got to really kind of know the issues to understand what's important and what kind of matters. Let's go ahead and let's get into it. Let's start first with Kid Rock's opening statement to Congress. Here it is.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Senator Blackburn and committee members, for this opportunity.
You're welcome.
My name is Robert Ritchie, PKA Kid Rock. I'm proud to say I've been packing arenas, amphitheaters, and stadiums with the greatest fans on earth for over 25 years. I'm also a capitalist. I'm here today because I love God. I love this country. I love live music and sports. And I believe music fans and artists have been getting screwed for far too long by the ticketing system. I'm in a unique position to testify because, unlike most of my peers, I am beholden to no one. No record companies, no managers, no corporate endorsements or deals. To put it plainly, I ain't scared. I ain't scared to speak out on these issues like many artists, managers, and agents are for fear of biting the hand that feeds them. I'm here because hardworking Americans who love live music deserve better, and because artists deserve control over their own work. And let's be clear, this problem is older than timeouts and participation trophies.
Oh, zinger!
30 years ago, members of the rock band Pearl Jam, members of the rock band Pearl Jam sat in these same seats, warning Congress about ticketing abuse.
I mean, you don't really know that.
In 2009, Congress was told under oath that merging Live Nation and Ticketmaster would benefit artists and fans. The CEO of Live Nation called the merger an experiment and promised it would increase competition and power artists and lower costs. He also said, and I quote, "A system that empowers artists benefits everyone." Almost need a rim shot after that. The CEO of Ticketmaster at the time also testified in 2009 and said, "We believe the combination of our two companies will benefit artists, fans, theaters, sports teams, museums, and all the other facilities, performers, and spectators who use our services. The economic foundation that supported artists in the past is crumbling. Piracy is threatening their livelihood.
Pirates?
Secondary ticketing is driving up prices for the fans with absolutely no benefit to the artist. Needless to say, that experiment has failed miserably. Independent venues have been crushed. Artists have lost leverage.
That's a different
Fans are paying more than ever and getting blamed for it. Should Ticketmaster and Live Nation be broken up? Probably. Would that alone fix things? Not sure it would. But I am sure of this.
Okay.
No artist should be forced to sell their tickets without a say in who sells them and how they are sold. What other business in America doesn't control or at least have a say in their own inventory? If artists had real choice, real competition would follow, and tickets would end up in the hands of real fans at the prices we, the artists, set. It's no secret, none, that this industry is full of greedy snakes and scoundrels. Too many suits lining their pockets off talent they never had and fans they mislead. The truth is, much of this could have been, or still could be, solved through technology. especially proof of humanity tools. It hasn't happened yet because there's just too much money in the secondary ticket market. Ticketing companies didn't fail to stop this. Seems they chose not to. Now, meanwhile, the problem has been addressed with much success overseas. In parts of Europe, resale ticket prices are capped, and it seems to be working. I've been advocating for a 10% price cap here in the States on the resale of a ticket. And in fairness, Ticketmaster and Live Nation have supported this cap. Where I'm confused is this. I don't think Ticketmaster needs a law passed to do this. If that's true, then it only proves these companies have been reactive, not proactive. I would implore Congress, this is important, to subpoena the contracts and deals between artists, promoters, buildings, ticketing companies, agencies, and vendors, because as I understand it, you will find mountains of fraud and abuse. Now, my positions and solutions are as follows. Number one, artists should control who sells their tickets and how. Number two, resale ticket price caps work and protect real fans. Number three, the Bots Act should be enforced. Brokers and bad actors must be stopped, and all should face serious penalties and consequences. All-in pricing is great, but it doesn't fix the system. Outlawing speculative ticketing is obvious. The problem is that ticketing lobbyists push these reforms as cover while fighting to keep tickets in an open market and lets them exploit fans under the guise of capitalism. Do not be fooled by these tactics. Congress and many others have been fooled since the mid-1990s, fooled again in 2009, and so on. This wasn't an experiment, it was a monopoly dressed up as innovation. So I'll close now with the words of one of my favorite rock bands, The Who, and say it is my sincere hope we won't get fooled again. Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the two things I think he said there that were like really interesting, right? The first was that he said he supported the breakup of Live Nation and Ticketmaster. I think most people agree that Kid Rock has Trump's ear on this issue, right? The fact that Kid Rock thinks that the company should be broken up probably says a lot about what Trump thinks. The other thing I thought was important was that Kid Rock said he would like to see a cap on resale. Basically, he thinks it should be illegal to resell a concert ticket for more than a 10% markup on the face value of the ticket. And that's hugely important, right? Because if that were to become the law of the land, just like in the UK where a similar law was passed, capping markup on resale tickets to 10% over face value. If that happened here, that would be a game changer for this. I mean, it would wipe out the secondary industry, right? All sites like StubHub, SeatGeek. That is their business model. So if you cap resale at 10% in the United States, you're going to effectively kill the ticket resale business, and that's what some people want. All right, here's Kid Rock again speaking about ticketing.
They're trying to run this disguise again of like speculative ticketing and all-in pricing. These things are great. We do all agree on them. It doesn't solve the problem because what they hide in these things, which I believe they've done in Colorado and that they're doing in California or they've done, is they do all these wonderful things. It goes, oh, they're doing all this stuff for ticketing. What they don't do, or what they do is they sneak in or they say, we must keep tickets on the free market. And all that does is give the scalpers, the bad actors, the bots a license to ill. That's it. So they keep running this game. Don't be fooled. Like the only way I've seen it that we can fix this is, and Live Nation, us and Ticketmaster agree on this, oddly enough, that there needs to be a price cap. They've tried this in Europe. Just look at it. It works there. Do I want to be a follower of Europe? Not really. But you know what I mean? They did something that's kind of working. We ought to take a hard look at that.
Okay, next up to speak is Dan Wall with Live Nation and Ticketmaster. Dan's is a retired attorney. He used to work at Latham Watkins. He was one of their chief lawyers for Live Nation. Now he's kind of works as an executive at the company. And he spends a lot of his time dealing with the antitrust case and other regulatory issues facing the company.
Mr. Wall, let me jump to you here real quick, sir. September 2025, the FTC brought suit against Ticketmaster alleging that the company knowingly allowed brokers to use multiple accounts to evade ticket limits. Now, I'm aware that you dispute these allegations and there's ongoing litigation. But my question is, how many bot-related circumvention referrals has Live Nation made to the FTC since the Bots Act passed in 2016?
I'm not sure the exact number, but there came a point when they told us to stop doing that because they understood that the bots problem was an ongoing problem.
So have you disciplined, Mr. Wall, any brokers or your company?
Let's talk about what he just said there for a second. That's really interesting. This is kind of bizarre. But what Dan Wall is saying right there is that his company has been reporting bot attacks to the FTC on a regular basis, and then the FTC basically told him, stop reporting them to us. We get it. You're being attacked by bots, okay? That's kind of funny because one of the requirements of the Bots Act is that Live Nation or all ticketing companies kind of regularly provide updates to the FTC and other groups about bot attacks. And it sounds like the FTC is basically being like, we know.
Discipline any brokers or ban them from buying or listing tickets on Ticketmaster based on their circumvention of your technological controls?
Yes.
I appreciate that. Madam Chair, I'm going to turn this back over to you. I know everyone here knows that I've been proud to work with Senator Blackburn on this issue as well. I now am proud that I heard from everyone in the industry that we can get rid of speculative ticketing. I look forward to working with the chair and the ranking member of the full committee to bring that up. And all the staff that are in here, I hope you just author it. If the chair wants to put his name on it, I'd be happy to turn it over. But let's get that done. Let's get rid of it. Thank you for the time.
Yeah,
thank you, Senator Lujan.
Staff.
Senator Cruz.
Oh, here we go.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Welcome to all the witnesses. Mr. Ritchie, let me say, as a Texan, I'm particularly happy to see you bringing cowboy hats back to the United States Senate. It warms my heart.
Yes, sir.
Let me start with you, Mr. Ritchie. In your testimony, you talk a lot about how music fans and artists have been harmed by systemic problems within the ticketing system. You've been doing this for over 25 years with a ton of success. What do you see as the biggest problem for music fans?
Well, like we're saying, we keep going back to these speculative ticketing. Transparency, all this stuff, great. Everyone does agree on these small things, but it does not solve this problem. The biggest problem I see as an artist is getting the tickets at the prices I set into the hands of the fans. And like I said, I'll say it again, I'm a capitalist, I'm a deregulation guy. There's no way around this but to put a price cap on this or technology figure it out. But technology hasn't yet.Maybe they don't want them to. I mean, when people are making a lot of money in the secondary market, and I even told the CEO of Live Nation a couple years ago, I go, you guys would have probably gotten away with this a lot longer if you just would have paid the artists some of the money in the secondary market, which they never did. We never shared in that. But either way, I'm here for the fans. That's it. I would actually take a pay cut off this. I would rather have more fans and take a little less money or have packed buildings and play to that, because let's face it, as a front man and a lot of front men, we have a little bit of egos, all of us. And rather than take that little bit extra money...
Fortunately, no one in politics has that.
Yeah, not at all. So it's getting the prices we set, getting them to the hands of the fans.
Well, I want to pause it there. I don't know how a pay cut would work there by making sure the price that they charge is what fans are charged. I don't know how you take a pay cut on that, but we'll trust you with that. Kid Rock.
You also talked about how artists have lost leverage in the ticketing system. And obviously venues make relationships with ticket sellers. Can you explain what it means, how performers have lost leverage, and what might change if artists had more control over ticket sales?
Well, I mean, just with this, speaking of the secondary market, if I went to Ticketmaster, I don't know, a couple months ago, I got a tour coming up. I could go like, hey, we've agreed on a price for the ticket with the building, with the fees, everything. Okay, I want to buy all 15,000 tickets. No way that's happening. You can only get a certain amount for your fan club that you want. Maybe I want to do special things.
Okay, let's pause that for a second, because that's an interesting point I think he's making there, too. What he's saying there is, if he has a concert scheduled at the Honda Center, he can't buy all the tickets himself and then sell them through his own fan club, right? And the reason he can't do that is because Ticketmaster has the contractual right to sell those tickets. They paid the Honda Center, millions of dollars for the right to exclusively sell tickets to the Honda Center. And that's amortized, with all the fees that Ticketmaster charges people when they go to buy tickets. Right? Of course, the fees that everybody hates. And so, Kid Rock is technically correct there. He couldn't just buy the tickets and sell them themselves without at least paying the Ticketmaster fees, right? And that's just kind of the point he's trying to make there, is that like Ticketmaster paid for the right to sell those tickets, and so Kid Rock just can't buy them up and sell them himself, because without repaying Ticketmaster those ticketing rights. It's a kind of a complicated thing. I'm not sure it's that important, but if you want to understand like how this stuff works, you got to understand like these relationships. And so that's just kind of a small point, but I think it's important to explain.
Mr. Wall, why can't Ticketmaster work with artists and do what Mr. Ritchie has recommended, where you would have tiered opportunities for fans? Why can't you all make that happen?
So Ticketmaster never sets prices itself. However, Live Nation and Ticketmaster do offer the tiers, the platinums. For example, we stand alone. We're the only resale site that will consistently, if Mr. Ritchie says he doesn't want us to turn on resale on our Ticketmaster marketplace, we won't. If we do, we will pay him
Mr.
a portion
Ritchie?
of it.
I don't. That's the first time I've heard very recently from Michaels, the CEO, that we could do this cap or not have resale. I'm like, well, he goes, yeah, we've done it for other artists for a while now. For Pearl Jam, which is maybe why they're not here making a stink today. Still, they might have a side deal from what I've seen. I'm like, why don't?
So it's not.
They're like, you can have this deal too. I'm
operating.
like, why haven't you told us this? Oh, we're really bad at advertising. I'm like, come on, that's BS.
Yes.
There's nothing unusual about these arrangements I'm talking. Every artist that we promote has the option
How
to tell
can
us.
it not be unusual if the artists don't know
Right.
that this
We'd have
is
no
an
idea.
option?
Okay, this part kills me just a little bit because I've written about this so extensively for Billboard when I was a writer there. That the fact that Kid Rock's saying he's like never heard of this, like, kind of hurts my feelings. Like, don't you read my stuff at Billboard, man? Okay, but I mean, this is like really simple and let's not overcomplicate it. Basically, what Dan Wall is saying is that Ticketmaster can turn off resale on its own site if the artist asks for it. So that basically means that like Kid Rock doesn't want his tickets being resold on Ticketmaster, which allows all tickets to be resold, then he can do that. Then Ticketmaster will basically stop reselling tickets on the Ticketmaster site. All it does is push the resale over to StubHub and SeatGeek. Like, it doesn't actually stop resale, okay? It just stops the resale of tickets on the Ticketmaster platform. So it's kind of dumb. So the fact that they're arguing about like this, have you heard of it, you've not heard of it, like, it's kind of pointless, really. And it also shows that Kid Rock's not reading my stuff. Man, do I get you a subscription, bro? Come on. If you just read my shit, you'd understand all this. This is what kills me.
I would be happy to put in the record the list of dozens of artists
Then you
that
need to
have them right
turned
here.
off the
start
TM Plus.
supplying.
I know who the artists
I
are.
would
I got 'em.
recommend that you submit a list. Let me ask you to submit a list of artists who are able to control their ticket sales, who are able to turn off the secondary market, and
nobody
who
can
are
turn off the
able to
secondary
work
market,
with
like I
you,
said. Okay.
how they want to tier
So
these
Senator-
tickets.
Senator,
Let me
if
move
I
on
may,
to,
Senator.
well, no, I'm moving
Face
on.
value exchange. We are the only one that offers artists the opportunity
Mr.
to
Wall,
do face value exchange.
I've got
How
another
long?
question for you.
Since we'd invented it a few years ago.
I've never heard of it. I'm very close with
Okay.
A lot of people at Live Nation
We're
everywhere.
going to move on to another.
There's nothing that irritates me more than having a conversation, argument with somebody, and their argument is, well, why haven't I ever heard about this? It's like, man, I don't fucking know why you haven't heard about it, bro. like, that's not on me. That's on you. Your ignorance is on you. That's just hilarious. This is Kid Rock's like line of argument. Like anybody who's like famous and powerful and has an ego, they're like offended when they're like, "Well, I don't know about it." But whatever. I will say like one other kind of thing in this, like what Dan was talking about a little bit also is that Ticketmaster has the ability to stop to block the transferability of tickets, right? Making it really hard to transfer them from one person to the other. That effectively like severely restricts resale. And one of the things they come up with is if like the transferability is turned off, but someone still like needs to unload their ticket because they can't go because there's like they're sick or there's a friend's wedding or something, they can go into a fan-to-fan ticket exchange and sell that ticket at face value or near face value to another fan, who's been vetted by the company or whatever. So there's just a little more color for you on like kind of how this stuff works.
Mr. Wall, I want to come back to you on this because I think why did you allow the abuse of the system for years? Before you said you weren't turning a blind eye and before you said you were going to clean it up.
Has to do with the FTC
What we
lawsuit.
allowed
Why
was
did
brokers to have multiple accounts, and that is because virtually all brokers have multiple accounts and always have.
So you did not do verification if these were actual brokers or they were bots?
Oh, sure we did. Of course we did.
Well, you ended up with a whole lot of bots.
Okay, well that's
And then you said you're blocking a lot of the bots.
that's like totally misunderstanding the case and what she's talking about. This is what I'm talking about when I'm saying these politicians, they kind of convolute things and get things mixed up, right? Okay, these are two totally separate cases, okay? There's the FTC broker case, right, where the FTC basically is accusing Ticketmaster of allowing this group of brokers to buy and sell tickets on the Ticketmaster website using multiple accounts and kind of getting past some of the safeguards Ticketmaster put in place. And the FTC is arguing they look the other way so they can make money off at Ticketmaster. And then there's the issue of people using bots to attack the Ticketmaster site, or at least try to attack on sales and aim their bots at on sales and try to buy up as many tickets as possible, right? And in those cases, Ticketmaster puts safeguards in place to try to stop these bots from buying up the tickets, right? They don't want the bots, but you're confusing the brokers in that FTC case with bots in general, right? The brokers and the bots, they're separate things, okay? Right? You didn't let the brokers in, and some of the bots got in too. That's not how it works. I'm sorry, you're mixing it up.
There, maybe I want to do things like, have first class tickets available like an airline, but then also have some really cheap tickets around there without doing dynamic pricing, which kind of takes one ticket right next to another ticket and for no reason just jacks it up. I'd rather be transparent about this going into it. Like, yes, we know we have first-class customers, people who've worked hard and done well. We want to provide them very expensive tickets, so they're going to be there towards the end. Also want to have very cheap tickets, but I want to lay this out across the board. Just all sorts of unique things we could do with those tickets, whether it's giveaways, fan clubs. Some people have corporate deals they want to do things with, and it's not like they haven't worked with us on that. I'm not saying Ticketmaster doesn't. But just the freedom to say, like, I don't want my ticket resold at all. I'd rather a couple percentage, a few hundred people kind of get screwed over and say, I can't sell my ticket back. I got to eat it. Because I know right now if that happened, that 95, 96% of those people would have a great experience at buying the ticket. And some of these things now.
Okay, so what he's basically saying there is so confusing, it's kind of all over the place, is that he's basically saying he'd rather just have resale just banned altogether. Even if that means that a couple people bought tickets and they can't go to the show, and so they're just going to have to kind of eat the ticket costs. They can't like resell it and make up their losses. Like, kind of too bad, man. Like, tough shit, because we're trying to like get rid of scalpers, and so whether or not you like bought the ticket and you're sick and you can't go or not, like, it's kind of beyond the point. Like, we don't want this shit being scalped. That's what he's saying there, if you're confused.
I've heard in the last 6 months, we can do that. We can do that. I'm like, well, why couldn't we do that for all these years? And it seems like I said, people are being reactive instead of proactive.
Okay, next up, we're going to hear from David Weingarden. He's the chair and co-founder for the Colorado Independent Venue Association. He's also a VP for concerts at Z2 Entertainment in Boulder. One qualm I have with this guy, and it's a small one, is that he holds himself out as an independent venue owner, which is technically true, but his company is owned in part by Don Strasberg, who is one of the partners of AEG Rocky Mountains, right? AEG is one of the biggest corporate concert promoters in the world, number 2 behind Live Nation. So, while I'm not going to question their indie status at all, right? And I'm sure their interests don't always align with Live Nation, as you'll see here, or with scalpers, right? I don't often see them coming out speaking out against AEG. So I'm just going to put that out there, okay? You can do whatever you want. Not to disparage Mr. Weingarten. He's a good guy. Let's let him talk. Here's what he has to say.
When a bot or somebody comes in and purchases hundreds of tickets or whatnot, and we are looking at it as a venue, as a sold-out performance, so we staff as such with 100% staffing, the whole lot, and we're also paying the artist for that sold-out show as well. And unfortunately, when those brokers can't get their tickets sold, we'll see a drop count, which is how many people are actually through the door, of 60 to 70%. So now we've lost 30 to 40% of the income from food and beverage, which is how we make our money as a venue. And to put the salt on the wound is that these brokers, these scalpers, will then claim fraud on all of the unsold tickets and will get their money back from these credit card companies. And so we'll get charged that as well. They're called chargebacks. So not only do we lose 30, 40% on those tickets that go unsold for the food and beverage, we get double charged on the chargeback, and there's no way for us to make our money back at all.
That's
All right,
fucked
so my
up.
time has expired, but Mr. Ritchie, I'll give you a chance if you want to respond to those comments. I don't know if you have any response.
I think we're all, for lack of a better term, rock and roll, we're all kind of smoking the same dope.
All right, that spices up the hearing even more.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Senator Cantwell, you're recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Senator, have you gone, Senator? Do we want her to go? Or?
Sure, it's fine. Senator Blunt Rochester,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay, I've got to point out the irony here. After Kid Rock makes the "we're all smoking the same dope" joke, the next senator to speak is Senator Blunt. Come on, people. It's too good. It's too good to pass up.
As Anthropic found in a November 2025 report, cybersecurity attacks are now beginning to use AI agents to execute cyber attacks by themselves. Mr. Berry, is the online ticket industry prepared for the AI agent cybersecurity threat?
Senator, it's a constantly evolving challenge, and the bottom line is the industry has to meet that challenge.
So you would say...
So that's a non-answer.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
My question's pretty
primarily
stupid. Your
when
answer's
we
dumber.
examine...
I had to add this screen grab in here because I think it just highlights a lot of what's going on at this hearing. So this guy who was testifying, I didn't really show much of him, but his name is Brian Barry, and he's basically like the head of some lobbying group for the scalper websites, the resale sites like StubHub and SeatGeek and all that stuff, right? He basically is a lobbyist for the secondary industry, right? So, and to his right, in the picture, is the woman with the black hair, the black shirt, and the gold necklace pendant. That's Audrey Fix Schaefer. She's both the head of communications for IMP, which is an independent concert company in DC. They famously have the 930 Club, Meriwether Post Pavilion, the Anthem. She's also the board president of NEVA, the National Independent Venues Association. And I just love this look she's giving to this guy right now, right? I mean, sometimes a picture can say a million words, and I think her look at this guy who leads this association of scalpers of resellers, which cause so many problems for independent venues, right? I think this look she's giving him just speaks a ton. It's a great photo, and it just conveys how a lot of people feel about the secondary ticketing business.
And the bot problem, because it is a problem. What you've heard today, these are attacks. There's no place in the system for them. Jumping ahead of a consumer in line and scooping up the tickets just shouldn't be something that can be done by technology. Candidly, that just speaks to an anti-fan approach. But it happens in the primary sector. So when tickets first go online is when these attacks happen. We have a member of our forum that does a very good job. We're talking 99% records. They can provide the specific numbers, but it's very high in terms of keeping them out.
Yeah, I would say.
Okay, I've got to call this guy out for this comment right here, because this is just ridiculous. Okay, he's saying all the bots activity, that only happens on the primary ticketing market, not the secondary. This one website, which I'm sure is probably SeatGeek, keeps 99% of them out, okay? Yeah, no shit, Sherlock, okay? Nobody attacks scalper sites with bots. That defeats the whole purpose. They only attack the primary ticketing websites with bots, right? Why? Well, because of this, okay? They're trying to buy up the tickets at the prices the artists want to charge, right? So they can sell them on the secondary at huge markups. Basically, if Kid Rock puts a $50 ticket for sale, some scalpers will use bots, these computer programs, to go and buy the tickets up. I mean, they're going to take those tickets and they're going to place them on the resale market for $200, $300, $400, right? So you need the bot to jump ahead of everybody in line and buy that ticket so you can put it on the secondary site. You don't need a bot to buy a ticket off the secondary site. You don't need a bot to jump ahead of anybody to buy a $400 ticket that once cost $50, right? It's just a stupid point, and it's stuff like this which is like so disingenuous and honestly kind of dishonest that like bugs me about how these hearings go.
Is Ticketmaster a monopoly?
No, we are not.
And tell me how you come to that conclusion.
Because we are at the near the end of the road in the antitrust case, and the math has been done. And if you just look at the addressable market for large venues, the government's economist is putting our market share under 50%, so that's not a monopoly share. They have an alternative argument that looks at 20% of that market and says that we have a monopoly of that, but there's no such thing as a monopoly of 20% of a market.
Okay, this is an interesting point that I thought I would just stop to explain, because it has a lot to do with the Live Nation case. So the senator is asking, Dan Wall, corporate attorney at Live Nation, basically just outright asking him, are you a monopoly? And what Dan Wall is saying, kind of reflects where the case is at right now. They're in the discovery phase, and they're compiling evidence, and they're arguing about experts and definitions. And one of the things Dan says is that, like, according to the government, his own definition, Live Nation, Ticketmaster have a 50% share of the North American concert market, right? So 50% doesn't technically constitute a monopoly. I mean, you would think that you'd have to have at least a majority share of the concert business to have monopoly. And according to Dan, the government only, as calculated, they only have 50%. Now, as Dan said, the government's kind of arguing this definition. They want to look at the concert business differently. They're picking out a smaller piece of it. And what Dan's saying is they're trying to only look at 20% of the market and say you have a monopoly over 20%. That is, way oversimplifying the point the government's making right now in this case. But I would agree with Dan that as they're kind of litigating this point, it does kind of appear that Live Nation's winning the argument. It's not over and done yet, but it does seem that they're kind of winning this argument in the courtroom. If you look at some of the evidence that's been brought in lately, and that gives Live Nation a lot of leverage to potentially settle the case in their favor. Now, it's far from over. That's just one piece. It's an important piece, but it's just one piece of this case. But, it's interesting, and I just wanted you guys to have that explanation kind of to make sense of what he's talking about there.
Okay, if you control artists, venues, and tickets, and a person has to choose, who chooses
companies.
Your venue has to use Ticketmaster, or an artist that you have a relationship with.
Sharp here.
That sounds like a monopoly to me, because you have relationships with artists and with venues and with tickets.
Oh, damn.
And when
double
you're
threat,
able
lady.
to combine the three, it forces artists to use your venues and your tickets. It requires venues to use your artists and your tickets. And it takes choice away from both the artists and the venues. And to me, that sounds like a monopoly.
It'd be amazing if Dan Wall went, holy shit, lady, I never thought of it that way. You're right. But then I guess he's going to say he disagrees.
I understand, Senator, and that's the story we hear a lot. But if I could just give you a couple of data points without getting too argumentative about this. We're not a big, we may be the largest venue owner in the sense of the number of venues, but we don't have any stadiums. We don't have any arenas.
We don't have any waffle shops.
So where all of these big shows play,
We don't have any
the
chitlin
major concert
factories,
venues,
so what are we talking about?
we own hardly any of them. What we own, the only venues that we own that even fit within this market the government's claiming are amphitheaters, which are a small part of the whole. As artist choice, the one thing I will just say is, know us by the company we keep. We're on this team. We don't wear the same uniform by any means, but we are on the artist team here. And Mr.
Well, I'd like to start calling the shots then.
But it is important to point out that on almost everything, our position is exactly what Mr. Ritchie's is.
We're the
and it's
artists,
because
we're
his
not
position
these
is very
tickety
typical of what the
guys.
artist's position is.
We're the
Mr.
artists.
Ritchie,
We just wear suits. And
how would you respond to my
corporate.
question?
Well, I think monopoly is having no competition. I think it's the opposite of this number and that number.
I just can't wearing an American
help you,
badass
Mr. Wall,
hat
with the
in the
numbers, but it's lack of
with-
competition.
he's with
I think
Kid
if there's
Rock.
more competition, let's say in the ticketing market, then that would make things better for the fans and for prices and for the artists. And and I would say let the artists bear the blunt, take the risk and reward. You know what I mean? If I say that I want tickets to be
Bear
sold with
the
no
brunt,
resale,
not the blood.
you can't resell them.
Come on,
period.
Kid Rock.
Yeah.
My fans are going to go like, I couldn't go, and Kid Rock's a jerk. Whatever, that's fine. I mean, they pretty much bear the blunt of it now, and StubHub does, and rightfully so. Rightfully so, because they don't give us the freedom to do what we want with our inventory. They don't exist without me and everyone else.
Right.
That's a fact. I think we can all agree on that.
Mr. Berry, how would you respond to my questions?
First and foremost, on the monopoly question, Senator, I'm looking forward to the Justice Department and 40 state attorneys general, bipartisan team of attorneys general figuring that out. The Department of Justice should stay the course, finish the job. If they're watching today, don't settle.
I like how this guy is like, the DOJ, don't settle with Live Nation. Keep the case going. Keep the case going against Ticketmaster. And don't look at us over here in the secondary markets. We're not doing anything wrong. Yeah, come on. So transparent. This is like ridiculous. Wait till you guys are investigated and then come talk to me.
The artists hold all the marbles. I mean, the artists and the artist team, they hold all the marbles, and we want to play with the marbles. So we're going to do everything that we can to make sure that the artist is happy and we want to make and get them what they need. At the same time, when you're dealing with, a monopolistic corporation, or you're dealing with a bunch of StubHub, and secondary and scalpers and whatnot that pay none of the costs. None of these costs are getting paid by these scalpers.
Yeah.
None of them. We pay them constantly, and when that's happening, it's not equitable. It's not fair. There's no competition. They're making.
By the way, he's holding up a list there. He posts each show night for people who come to the concert, bought tickets on sites like StubHub and can't get in, and he's basically posting like the instructions he gives to people how to get their money back or call and complain.
Their profit margins are enormous because they are not sharing in any of the risk.
Mr. Ritchie, do you hold all the cards?
The marbles, not the cards.
No, hardly. I just want to say there's so much money in this business. There's enough to go around for everyone. That's a fact. But the one thing we can agree on, there's a lot of merit here to everything we're talking about, but we have to get the middleman out of the way. Just let me get the tickets to the fans at the prices I want to set.
Okay, do you have, Senator Hickenlooper, do you have any questions?
I have myriad questions.
I have
will
so
restrain
many
myself.
questions, but questions have questions.
I wanted to, Mr. Ritchie, I wanted to ask, in your experience, your direct experience, how much control does the artist have in what the final price for an artist or a customer pays for that ticket relative to the add-ons?
The final price or setting the price of what we'd like?
The final price.
The final price, well, not much.
So you
I mean,
can't-
that includes all the fees, the tacked on, how the buildings make their money, everyone this, that, and the other. There's, they charge how much to print out a ticket at home, all these little stuff that makes no sense, like that everyone's up in arms about. We get a ton of say in what we want the tickets priced at, because that's where we make our money, and we make the majority of that money. As I'm sure Mr. Wall will be happy to tell you, that's true. But at the end of the day, no, we don't have any. Over all those fees and everything that they tack on and all the stuff that people are really upset about. If I say tickets are $49, whatever, fans are usually like, okay, that's great. As artists, we want to treat our fans right. They know that. But then when they get to the end and they check out, they're like, why is this thing $75?
Right.
It's supposed to be $49. That's a huge problem.
Right, and there's no way when you can't restrict the contract, when you're signing a contract with that promoter, they're unwilling or unable to guarantee that they can, assuming, and obviously if we do a federal law that.
I mean, this is why I said subpoena some of this stuff, because what I've heard, people are getting kickbacks from this. Sometimes it's the managers or the artists. There's a lot of people at fault here. I'd like to put it all on Ticketmaster and they take the majority of these blows, no question, them in Live Nation. But there's a lot of people there with their hands in this cookie jar that it shouldn't be in. And that's why I hope you subpoena a lot of these contracts and look for some of this fraud, because I bet there's some folks who go to jail.
I'm not going to judge anybody on that evidence yet. Since last year, the FTC's all-in pricing went into effect. Have you guys seen a change in the market since that? And maybe each one of you can describe a little bit what the change is, and then also, if we made that a federal law rather than just a rule, would that make a difference? So that's the two questions. Have you seen a change, and would?
That's great. I think that's great for fans. Just more transparency, so they don't get sticker shock when they go to check out with all these hidden fees.
Okay.
It's been very important because, contrary to what a lot of people believe, ticketing companies can't decide how to show these prices. It's the content owners who sort of dictate this, and so you have a problem getting everybody on board. It's now, we've been pushing this for years. The system is working. Some people were saying that there'd be a lot of problems. There haven't been any problems. It turns out this works just fine.
Right.
It works great, guys. Okay, so that's basically the hearing. It's 2 hours total. I think maybe look at kind of the last thing Kid Rock said. Well, the second to last thing, I guess he was saying about, like, the price he sets and then the price on top of it. That's very interesting, right? Because there's the price the artist charges, and then there's the price and fees that come after that, right? And And there's a lot of debate about those fees and what they actually charge, right? I mean, they're supposed to cover the show costs, right? And that's kind of part of the problem here is that, like, the artist is getting paid their money, but there's a cost also in putting on the show to the promoter and to the venue. And now was he alleging there's kickbacks, right? There's not necessarily kickbacks, but sometimes the buildings will pay rebates to the promoters to and basically reward them for bringing a successful show to the building. The fees are the kind of the currency that the concert business actually runs on. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like in summary, like, what did I think of the hearing? I think it's kind of interesting. There was some news made. I think that Kid Rock's indifference about the breakup of Live Nation Ticketmaster by the Justice Department was very telling, because I think that tells us where Trump is at on this issue, and that Trump is kind of like, I don't think he really cares that much. And secondly, that Kid Rock supports basically a pseudo ban on ticket resale, which a 10% cap on resale is basically a ban on resale. That would be a fundamental change, for the concert industry. Do I think it could work in the United States? Yeah, it definitely could work in the United States. And it's something that, we maybe would solve a lot of these problems that we're having. I think the best thing to do is to watch what happens in the UK over the next year, right? This ban is taking place in the UK. And let's see if this big underground black market pops up, or if, the secondary market just kind of goes away and concert tickets prices come back down to earth, and fans can go to a show for the price of the artist set, and we don't have, secondary market scooping up tickets and messing with the demand and, right, creating all these angry customers and pissed off fans. So as much as that hearing tells us what's going on in the U.S., I think the best barometer right now is overseas in the U.K. Let's watch what happens over there, and let's figure out if that's something that's good for the U.S. It's hard to see how it won't be, but they've started the experiment, so we might as well tune in and see how it goes. All right, thank you for tuning in to Decibel Docket. Please like and subscribe. Set your notification bell so that you know when a new episode comes out. And tell your friends. We need more listeners. We're a brand new show, and we need all the support we can get. Thanks. Sorry Mike couldn't be here this week. Thanks to everyone who supports the show. I'll see you next time. Decibel Docket. You've been watching the Decibel Docket podcast. Please like and subscribe and tell your friends.